Welcome back to another episode of the one-on-one treehouse sessions. Today we have a special guest star, Kadyen Phoenix. Kayden, can you?
Of Latina superhero graphic novels.
Very cool, very cool. And I want to kind of touch base on everything you're doing because you're doing so much. But in particular, for comics, Latina superheroes. I have up here, all your. This I think is the website that has all your characters in one. Is this a shared universe? Like, what is this
It
exactly?
is. Yeah, so all of them have origin stories, even including the team origin story as well, called A la Brava. So yes, they all do exist together in the same dimension.
Oh man, that's awesome. That's crazy. And when you is this all the same artist team too as well? Like, is it or does it different creative teams when you're putting
It
it
is very
together?
different creative teams. So I try to get them the same. So Santa Loquita had the same penciler inker, which is Eva Cabrera. She's GLAD nominated and Eisner nominated as well. And then Jalisco Andruca is the same artist as well. She comes from animation, so she leans a little bit more Disney. Where you see Eva, she leans a little bit more anime manga on the style. So it's really fun. My newest penciler was Bandita. That was her first comic. And so I was like, copy the style. And she did the best she could. But like you can tell slight differences, but it is within the
Right.
same style, the same tone. And then something a la Brava, this penciler is very chibi in style. So it's gonna say it's very, very cute. Which is nice. Like it's just a different take on the on superheroes.
No, absolutely. And you've been having great success on Kickstarter. Are you trying to do like more? Are you trying to push more content out there, more books? What's your timeline like for the release in the future?
For Phoenix Studios, we're supposed to be doing one every quarter is technically what our goal is. We kind of hit it sometimes, hit it not, just because we ramped up production, right? So I have 4 books going at the same time right now. In 2 weeks, I'm gonna have 5 books going at the same time, and because the other one's wrapping up with my letters and graphic designer working on those. And so it's a constant cycle. So like, okay, great, you're done with this. Let me do my part again, and let me start doing the Kickstarter for 1 month, and then we'll do the production, then we'll do the marketing and the signings and all the extra things. Well, my artists are still doing pencil and color, letter, etc. So
Yeah.
that's the plan.
How do you juggle it? So personally, so I just started comic books, making comics this year, and I'm sticking to a crazy ambitious goal of putting out one a month, launching out one a month on Kickstarter,
Cool.
and fulfilling it 12 this year, all in the same year as well. So what is how do you kind of manage different IPs? Well, it's kind of the same IP, but like with different characters and different books and different
Yeah.
teams.
How do I manage? I just manage really well because I'm a producer. So in the comic book world, it's called I'm an editor, but otherwise I'm a producer, right? Like you're in charge of the team. You're in charge of hiring and firing and doing the marketing and literally everything, social media, etc. And so it's just I write down lists. I'm huge on writing. Honestly, that's my okay, so my to-do list every single day, and I cross it out. I'm really happy, and then you do another to-do list, for the next day, or just they carry on some of them. And so that is what I do. Like if it's Kickstarter month, they're like, okay, focus on just posting, focus, and it's those horrible posts that you hate doing, and like, hi, thank you, da da da, and like, but you have to do it, because that's part of your job, and it works. Like, if you don't care about it, no one else will care about it. And so if you care about your project, you find the reason why, why do I care? Where's the heart? Which is always what it comes down to in storytelling, and like they will understand it as well. They'll understand your mission. And so how to manage it, it's just time. I'm really good at time management, and I know how to create time as well. So efficiency creates time, and then obviously waking up earlier than you're supposed to. That's the second one. If you're not efficient, is you wake up earlier and you gain more time that way as well.
When did you jump into comic books? Because you sound so intelligent when you speak about these things. How long have you been doing comic books?
Since 2019. I started in
20.
2019. In January, I contracted my artist for the first book, which was Jalisco.
Okay.
And then it came out in September 2019. We all had everybody had a 6-month contract, my pencil, ink, color, and letter.
Very cool. But what because I want to get into your directing and Hollywood stuff, but a little before that, like when exactly did you make the jump into comics? Like why? Like what inspired that? Basically.
Well, honestly, so I wrote out a feature-length screenplay called Jalisco. I shot a short film, so I shot a sizzle so I can bring them both together with my pitch deck, and I'd be like, okay, here's my superhero, etc. And so I had my bases of what to start with, and everyone that I showed it to asked me for a comic book, and every single time I'm like, no, They're like, "Is there a comic?" I'm like, "No." Like left and right, it was just no, because there was no comic. And then, Truth by Consensus is the real reason why I pivoted over to comics, because everyone literally thought that she should have a comic book, which is nice because I didn't even see that, And so I was like, okay, so I pivoted over, and then you do the research of comic versus graphic novel and all those extra little
Mhm.
things, like business wise, you have to figure out and what made the most sense. And graphic novel made more sense for me because mine's a origin story, just one complete story, as opposed to six little issues of 10 pages each. It doesn't make sense as much for myself. And so that's what I did. And so I just pivoted and I had to learn this whole new world, which is kind of the same, but you can learn this whole new world of, how to produce a comic.
Yeah, but now you're like so wrapped into it. Do you see yourself staying here? Do you see yourself trying to keep going and trying to, go back into, those films or?
Yeah, it worked instantly. Honestly, it worked really well. So Jalisco came out because I keep saying that because that's my first one, and instantly WAG brought me in. So Warner Brothers, Disney brought me in, and Netflix brought me in just with my one book. And so I was like, great, like because that's my whole thing is to still make a movie of one of the features or TV, whether it's animated, live action, is irrelevant. They'll all go. Like that's at the end of the day, they're all going to go eventually. And
Right.
so that's it worked. It already worked. So do I plan on living in comics? Maybe. I do plan on being a writer and director, as in regards to a screenwriter and a director, more so. Yes. The comics can continue though, because like, there are great writers. I already created the IP. I'm already the creator, but people can take the extra steps and write the next book. They don't need me for that.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good plan. Sounds like you thought this really through. But I want to jump into Chicano directors initiatives. Again, something very cool that I think you founded. How long ago? What is this? Um,
2019 as well. I was really mad at 2019, so I did a lot of work. And so 2019, I created it and I found it as well. It is a 501c3 nonprofit and is for the advancement of Latina directors and DPs within the studio system. And it's the really basis like we exist, which is just a very simple and sad thing that I have to say. But the Annenberg USC diversity report came out in 2019 in regards to the 2018 stats, and they were just horrible. Like we did not even exist on the piece of paper. They didn't even think we existed within the race. But out of 1,300 films, I'll give you one stat. But out of 1,300 films, only one was a Latina director. So like.
mhm.
I will never be that one Latina director. Majority of us will never be that one out of 1,300 films being made in 1 year. And so that's just really pathetic and sad, and the rest of it was a 54-page report, we weren't even represented. It was just like, okay, here's white, here's black, here's Asian, and that's it. And for being the largest, demographic in regards to diversity, we didn't even exist as a word. Even though our number was 0, they didn't even care to include us. And so that's why
Mm.
I was like, okay, we exist. Here's my nonprofit. Here's like in my Instagram, like to show we are real people. We're tangible people, and it's literally we exist, and it's been working. Like it's like here's a database, here's the IMDb if you want to contact them or check out their websites. I don't do the extra stuff, but it's just the basis of you can't erase us.
Yeah, no, that's great. Sounds like 2019 for you is what I'm hoping my 22 it will be my 2022. You mentioned did you just like get like inspired in 2019? Like what exactly like prompted you to kind of jump and found all these initiatives?
I was more mad. I don't know if I'd call it inspired, but it's more mad.
You're more
Um,
mad. You're
yeah,
passionate. Passion.
that's a better word. Yeah. But it's true, like if you're invisible and you don't understand why you're invisible, because I wasn't raised in this horrible patriarchal oppressive society that I do exist in, and in reality I was raised in it. But because I was so sheltered and my mom and my grandparents, everyone treated me equally, I did not know it existed. And that's it's a good thing, but it's also a very sad and pathetic thing that the world is so bad. And so, you go and step into the real world. Marketing was fine because I did my marketing prior. That everyone's equal. No one told me I'm going to get paid less for no reason. Yeah, because that didn't make sense. But if you go in the entertainment industry, they'll tell you that, and they'll say you don't even exist, and you're one out of 1,300 people. They'll literally tell you that, and you just, we're still doing our first, the first Latina something, the first Latina whatever, which is just, it's so very sad to see how much we're not, you know, seen as an equal.
It
And
is
so that's why. That so it's
yeah.
more. honestly. I don't know if I'd call it passionate. It's just I don't understand. It really, everything is just I
I
just don't
understand
understand.
you're trying to change it. No, I agree. I agree. And it's something I had a brief stint in Hollywood. I moved out there. I'm in New York. I was born and raised in New York. I wanted
Yeah.
to, do stuff, something in the film industry. So I moved out there. Only maybe made it like 6 months to a year, and I came back to New York. And it's kind of everything you're saying is kind of what I found to be true. But then more recently, now I'm seeing, Crazy Rich Asians came out, right? And then Simu Liu is now a superhero in the Marvel universe, right?
Yeah.
So it's definitely it's I can see the steps being made, but it's definitely nowhere near the force that it should be, the speed. It's great that people like you are out there, somebody like you is out there really trying to make it happen, and so keep doing it. I believe in you. One thing I want to show is you actually got this blue check mark here on your
Yeah.
Instagram. can you
Yeah.
can you can you talk about that? How did you get that blue check mark?
So there's lots of, well, there's only one way to get it, but my friend works at Facebook, and this was last year. My friend works at Facebook, and so Facebook is Instagram, as you know. And
Yes.
so it's just like all you have to do is send links in. I'll send links in for you. And I was like, okay, because you just have to show that you have press. That's all it is. And so we did it, and like they had it open. They had it as an open case for the longest time, meaning they wouldn't say yes or no. And then I got my management company earlier this year. So I'm with 3 Arts, and then I was just like, oh, they can do it, right? Because it's either your peer or your manager has to do it, and so
Okay.
that's the secret rule, honestly. And so I did the exact same thing. I sent the same links. Nothing changed. I sent literally the same links to my manager, and literally the next day they gave me the blue check. So
Wow, that's how you do it. That's blowing my mind, but that's super cool. Um, I just want to wrap it up. Is there anything that you want to kind of say to new creators out there, particularly in the comic books, or even filmmakers or screenwriters? I think there's
yeah.
writers and creators alike. We're all artists in some regard. Is there any like advice you can kind of give to somebody new who's aspiring?
Well, I the stuff that I learned is just, to find your tribe is always number one. So find the people that support you, that believe in you, that understand your purpose, because you guys will all rise together. And also, it's just a great support network. And that's very easy to find. Honestly, I have really great, like my DP, like everyone just helped me rise. And that is why my work is so good, especially with my artists, right? My artists are way more advanced and more skilled than I am. So I got very, very fortunate in that. So find your tribe, someone that believes in you, someone that believes in your content as well, and then also know your work, know your research, know your world. So research, horribly research, and keep researching. Like I had to research in regards to film, that's easy, but like comics, go and see what are the top 10 best comics and figure out why people think that's it's a subjective, but figure out why. And you start seeing why, like stuff starts standing out, like, oh, this is important because they did this, as opposed to it's just it is subjective, but understand your world, because then you can change it, right? If you understand the past, you can create the future. And so that's something I'd like to impart.
Most powerful words I've ever heard, Kayden. Awesome.